memory foam for lasting all-day comfort.
Slip-ons march comfort down the field.
Do you ever say anything that's not a sports cliche?
Try Skechers slip-ons today. Available at Skechers stores and other fine retailers everywhere.
Stop there. You're perfect.
And now this message, old car giving you problems. Why not donate it? Call 1-877-CARS-4-KIDS today.
WINS, WINS-HD, WNAW-HD3 New York.
A radio.com station. 1010 Winds AccuWeather says sunny, nice and mild this afternoon with a high of 57 degrees. Dry with increasing clouds this evening. It becomes damp with bits of rain or drizzle later tonight. A low down to 45. And then for tomorrow, little rain or drizzle in the morning, but then gets okay. Clouds breaking for sun at times. Nice and mild in the afternoon. And early evening with a high of 63, and Saturday cooler, any early sun giving way to some clouds, some rain at times in the afternoon. More people get their news from 1010 Winds and from any other radio station in the nation. Tony Mercado is our service aide, Walter Geis, our writer, Justin Schrager at the editor's desk, and I'm Bridget Quinn.
All news, all the time. This is 1010 Winds. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Good afternoon, 55 degrees at 3 o'clock. I'm Lee Harris. Here's what's happening. Governor Cuomo says the state's working to increase hospital capacity and find more ventilators. He admits the federal relief package provides nothing to balance the state budget. New Jersey's Governor Murphy sets aside time for medical and emergency workers with symptoms to be tested at 2 drive-through sites. President Trump wants to categorize areas of the country as low, medium, or high for spread of the virus. Newark native actor Mark Blum has died of coronavirus. He was 69. 1010 Winds AccuWeather, some rain and drizzle late tonight into the morning. The overnight low 45.
This is Andrew O'Day of Bloomberg. U.S. stimulus hope following the Senate's vote on the $2 trillion bill juices stocks, even as unemployment claims spiked to a record. The Dow up 990.
Winds News Time 3:01. Traffic and transit now. Let's check in with Greg Rice.
All right, Lee, we're going to go to the east side of town because we've got trouble on the FDR. Southbound, as I scan the 1010 Winds jam cams, even on days like this is just one of those places that backs up in a hurry. It looks like we've got a crash, or I should say a misplaced truck on the southbound FDR drive under Gracie. I'm watching this truck try and limp off into the left lane. Southbound FDR drive under Gracie Mansion. So you are slow from the 90s. Do what the truck should have done. Go for the avenue southbound on the east side of town instead. Outbound Gowanus right now, very tough from right off of the belt split coming down towards the Verrazano. There is a closure of the Verrazano upper level Brooklyn bound, and that's why that's so slow. Upper level of the Manhattan Bridge Brooklyn bound, you got a breakdown blocking the lane. Lincoln, Holland, George, they are all in pretty decent shape. Alternate sides suspended in the city through at least next Tuesday. Traffic sponsored by 1-877-8-ABUSED. Were you abused? The law office of Phillips and Pellicelli is ready to hold childhood sexual predators accountable. The clergy, school districts, hospitals, speak to a lawyer at Phillips and Pellicelli now. Call 1-877-8-ABUSED. That's 1-877-8-ABUSED. I'm Greg Rice on 1010 Winds.
Governor Cuomo today discussed the ongoing medical challenge of dealing with coronavirus as well as the economic impact this is all having on the state.
Governor Cuomo is planning for 1,000 more beds in each of the 5 boroughs and the counties of Nassau, Suffolk, Rockland, and Westchester. He's also announced more medical advancements to help the critically ill.
We've approved a technology that allows one ventilator to serve 2 patients, what they call splitting.
And several thousand anesthesia machines will be converted to ventilators. The governor addressed economic concerns as he looks down a $10 to $15 billion budget hole. He says the federal stimulus bill isn't going to help.
The congressional action, in my opinion, simply failed to address the governmental need.
He told lawmakers he thought it was irresponsible and reckless to exclude government expense items. Juliette Papa, 1010 Winds News.
City Council Speaker Corey Johnson tells 1010 Winds we must continue to build hospital capacity. He says it's important to keep social distancing to reduce transmission, but people need fresh air. Johnson says the city will therefore close down some streets to vehicular traffic so New Yorkers can walk while maintaining their distance from one another.
The streets that were identified last night by the mayor's office, it's a small start. We'll see how it works. Hopefully, if we get more personnel that we can use to actually do enforcement to allow people to remain safe on the streets, hopefully we can expand it even more.
And these are the streets that will be closed to cars, trucks, and buses from Monday through Friday. Bushwick Avenue from Johnson to Flushing in Williamsburg. 34th Avenue from 73rd to 80th in Jackson Heights, Queens. The Grand Concourse between Burnside and 184th in the Fordham Heights section of the Bronx. And Park Avenue from 28th to 34th in Manhattan. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy has announced an adjustment at two of the state's coronavirus testing centers.
This Saturday, the 28th, both Bergen Community College and PNC Bank Arts Center, only symptomatic healthcare workers and first responders. Then beginning next Saturday, April 4th, on every Saturday, PNC Bank Arts Center only will be dedicated to symptomatic healthcare workers and first responders.
Governor Murphy reports there are now nearly 6,900 cases of coronavirus in New Jersey. 19 more people have died, making a total of 81. 10-10 winds, AccuWeather, mostly sunny, mild and nice for the rest of the afternoon. High 57, dry with increasing clouds this evening, turning damp with bits of rain or drizzle overnight, low 45. Tomorrow, a little rain or drizzle in the morning, then clouds breaking for sun at times. It'll be nice and mild in the afternoon. In the early evening, 63 tomorrow. It's 55 now, sunny, humidity at 41. The winds are variable at 6, gusting to 17. Current temperature 55. We're going down to 45 in Midtown.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit beefy, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-590-7516. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Providers help thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-590-7516. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-590-7516. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-590-7516. 800-590-7516.
It's Newsline 306. Our Glenn Schuck is following up daily with the directors at Holy Name Hospital in Teaneck, one of New Jersey's major focal points in the fight against coronavirus.
110 confirmed and suspected cases of the coronavirus. The patients here at this hospital where the crisis really began. 13 deaths. And Chief Medical Officer Dr. Adam Jarrett says the mental strain on his staff here has been immense.
These patients are really dying without their families. For the safety of the family, for the safety of our staff, we, like other hospitals, are not allowing families and friends to visit. And we are also relying heavily on our nurses to sort of step in as family members, and they're the ones who are in the room with these patients. So you can imagine the strain on them.
Jarrett says we must continue to flatten the curve.
We all need to act on a day-to-day basis as if we're positive. If we act like we're positive, we're not going to transmit it to someone else.
And as to the critical need for ventilators and masks,
the good news is, if you'd asked me this question 3 days ago, I would have said we were 4 to 5 days ahead of the curve. So we continue to get a day or two supply every single day.
Glenn Schuck, 1010 wins here at Holy Name in Teaneck.
President Trump told reporters he'd like to see parts of the country reopened by Easter, but experts on his own coronavirus task force aren't so sure. Correspondent Inez de la Puerta with more.
The top doctor on his coronavirus task force was this morning on CNN.
You've got to understand that you don't make the timeline. The virus makes the timeline.
Dr. Anthony Fauci also warning the virus could come back in seasonal cycles as it now spreads to countries in the southern hemisphere going into their winter season. But there is one sliver of hope. Extreme social distancing measures may be working. The rate of hospitalization slowing slightly in New York City.
The President today sent a letter to governors saying his administration is working on new guidelines that would categorize counties based on risk for spread of the virus, low, medium, or high. Exactly what that will mean, we do not yet know, so lock it into 1010 wins for the President's Daily Briefing sometime later this afternoon. You can add actor Mark Blum to the list of notables who have died of coronavirus. The Newark native was best known as Madonna's love interest in the 1985 hit Desperately Seeking Susan. He also had roles in Crocodile Dundee, The West Wing, and The Sopranos. Mark Blum was 69 years old. It's 55 degrees. We have sunny skies. We're going down to 45. Wednesday news time, 3:09.
Now, a commercial message. This is Carter Conlon. Paul the Apostle said in 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 7, "For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." There's so much to be afraid about in this world today. And I think in particular today about the coronavirus that seems to be going from town to town, city to city, person to person, heart to heart. And so many people are afraid of the future. I want to challenge you today to turn to God and turn to Him with all your heart. You might be afraid, but there is a spirit that God is willing to give you, His Holy Spirit, His Word, His promise that will drive that spirit of fear out of your heart and give you a hope and give you a reason and a purpose and actually something to say to those who are of a fearful heart. You get it by praying. So today I remind you, it's time to pray.
Good afternoon, I'm Larry Cantor. WINS News Time 3:10. The government reports a record number of people, nearly 3.3 million, applied for unemployment benefits last week.
The figure on its own is hard to comprehend. It's the highest number of initial jobless claims in history since the Department of Labor started tracking the data in 1967. Then there's the fact that over 3.28 million newly unemployed is just the tip of the iceberg. Many more Americans were laid off since these claims were filed last week.
That's correspondent Steve Kastenbaum. Federal Reserve Board Chairman Jerome Powell acknowledged today that we may very well be in a recession right now. But he says there is nothing fundamentally wrong with the U.S. economy. Powell says the economy should rebound, but the virus will dictate when that will happen. WINS News Time 3:11. From the Mavis Discount Tire Traffic Center, here's Greg Rice.
Well, the southbound side of the FDR Drive getting better, getting past Gracie. There was a truck that shouldn't have been there in the first place, but the truck squeaked down underneath Gracie Mansion and got off at 79th Street, so everybody else's ride gets a little better. In the meantime, the West Side Highway in pretty good shape. We have one bad spot in the 5 boroughs right now. It's the outbound Gowanus from the belt split right on down towards the Verrazano. The upper level Verrazano Staten Island bound still shut down, so everybody's got to share the lower, and more importantly, they got to share the ride there. Everything all backed up. Here's what you need to know about the rest of the bridges and tunnels. Everything across the Hudson and for the most part East River is in pretty good shape. No trouble on the Upper East River. And the Mario Cuomo Bridge, also a pretty decent ride at this hour. Alternate side suspended in the city through next Tuesday, March 31st. B, W, and Z subways, they remain in the lot. And there are a whole lot of other subway issues right now because they just don't have the crews to run the usual slew of trains, especially true on the A and C. Traffic sponsored by your Tri-State Mercedes dealers. I'm Greg Rice on 1010 WINS.
Your Sunday might just be today. With more affordable models than ever before, the spring event is the perfect time to consider that Mercedes-Benz you've been dreaming of. Go to mbusa.com/spring event to view inventory, offers, or to schedule a test drive today.
Now the AccuWeather 4-day forecast. Here's meteorologist Brian Thompson with a live report.
Well, we have a lot of sunshine this afternoon. It's giving temperatures a nice boost well into the 50s. We will see a low down to 47 tonight. It is going to stay dry through the evening hours, but clouds will be increasing, and eventually later tonight some rain will start to move in as we get to a low 47. Tomorrow cloudy to start, we'll have some rain and drizzle. Then clouds will break for some sun in the afternoon. Looks pretty nice by later in the day. A high of 63, a bit warmer than today. Mainly clear early tomorrow night, then increasing clouds late, low 44. Mostly cloudy and a cooler day Saturday with rain at times in the afternoon and at night. High Saturday 52. Still a few showers around on Sunday with a cloudy sky and a high of 58. We're at 57 right now with a sunny sky in Central Park. Humidity 40%. Wind is variable at 6. Again, we're at 57 and going down to 47 in Midtown. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Brian Thompson on New York's weather station, 1010 WINS.
WINS News Time 3:13.
New York City has been losing out on our fair share of billions of dollars for schools, hospitals, roads, bridges, and more because only 62% of New Yorkers self-responded to the 2010 census. This is about power, money, and representation, and you deserve 100%. This year, starting March 12, visit my2020census.gov to fill out the census. And remember, by law, your responses are completely confidential. The 2020 census is easy, safe, and important. Call 311 and say census to learn more.
Somewhere out there's a man on a park bench eating his 500th PB&J. He has no idea Papa John's has new Papadillas that are way better than a boring sandwich. With Papa John's best meats, cheeses, and veggies hand-folded into a crispy flatbread crust. Someone better tell that man. Get a new Papadilla in one of 4 flavors for just $6. Better ingredients, better pizza, better than a sandwich. Papa John's. Not valid with discounts, fees, and taxes. Extra prices may vary.
It was the intersection of Queens Boulevard and 58th Street. I had to walk through. Our car was turning, and instead of stopping for me as a pedestrian, he went straight toward me. He accelerated and hit me.
Emilia was in pain, injured and uncertain of what to do next. She found a friend by calling the law firm of Daniel Botafuco and Associates.
It was great just to have the assurance that I don't have to worry about anything. I didn't have to pay the bills that kept coming in, and I knew I didn't have to hide with the insurance. It was all taken care of by Dan Botafuco and Associates.
Have you been injured through someone else's negligence?
What I would tell a friend is call the law firm of Dan Botafuco and Associates right away. They will take care of everything.
For a free evaluation of your case, call 1-800-NOW-HURT. 1-800-NOW-HURT. Rebuild your life. The law firm of Daniel Botafuco and Associates. 1-800-NOW-HURT.
Wins News Time 3:15. Airbnb has stepped up with a plan to offer free or subsidized housing for healthcare professionals, emergency workers, and relief personnel. Co-founder Joe Gebbia says medical workers and first responders are providing life-saving support during the coronavirus outbreak, and we want to help. He says the company's goal is to house 100,000 of these workers around the world. And both emergency workers who are looking for accommodations and hosts who would like to make their properties available can visit an Airbnb portal designed specifically for that purpose. A version of this initiative began last week in France, where the government and Airbnb workers came together to find 4,000 hosts willing to let medical personnel like doctors, nurses, and caregivers stay in their homes for free. The Four Seasons Hotel on 57th Street in Manhattan, which had been closed, is reopening. It'll provide rooms free of charge to doctors, nurses, and medical personnel on the front lines of the COVID-19 battle. Governor Cuomo tweeted the hotel is the first of many hotels that he hopes will make their rooms available. Ty Warner, chairman of Ty Warner Hotels, which owns the Four Seasons, says he heard the governor's call to action and there was no other option for them but to do whatever they could to help. The Legal Aid Society has filed a lawsuit against the New York City Administration for Children's Services seeking the release of at least 10 teens from juvenile facilities. The group says the teens do not have access to cleaning and sanitation supplies amid the coronavirus pandemic or proper instructions on hand washing and other methods of hygiene. There's been no comment yet from the city. There is apparently some good news from New Rochelle. That was a corona hotspot after a lawyer tested positive and 100 members of his synagogue became infected. Now, Mayor Noam Bramson says residents obeyed restrictions and the rate of infection in New Rochelle seems to have slowed.
We do have to be very cautious in interpreting the numbers. There's lots of uncertainty that's associated with the data. It's hard to know how much it reflects the spread of the illness as opposed to greater detection of the illness. The rates of testing vary significantly community to community and region to region.
Bramson tells 1010 Wins the containment zone, which was created on March 12th, has been lifted. A lawyer who first became infected was hospitalized and is now recovering. Technology is one of the many weapons being used to fight the pandemic.
The WHO's Dr. Mike Ryan says this truly is a 21st century pandemic and the first pandemic
in which the full power of information technology, social media, artificial intelligence is being applied to this response.
Dr. Ryan says a powerful use is not just in information sharing, but in encountering and then countering misinformation. Also modeling, predictive analytics, apps developed for case reporting, case detecting, case follow-up, tracking, tracing, and more. Dr. Maria Van Kerkhoff says, too, telemedicine's big, and it helps in social distancing order.
Separating, but keeping them socially connected.
It's hard to imagine the situation without technology. I'm Jim Roop.
Twins News Time, 3:19. Leveraging your investment in technology and software is crucial if you want to have any chance at success. Salesforce is the world's leading sales service, CRM, and enterprise cloud-based platform. AmericanEagle.com is the proud certified Salesforce partner you need to ensure a smooth implementation of this powerful platform. Salesforce will give you a competitive edge and grow your business. AmericanEagle.com has the resources and expertise to maximize your investment. A faulty implementation will cost time, money, and isn't worth the risk. AmericanEagle.com will customize Salesforce to fit your business goals and make sure it starts accelerating your growth. Their customers have come to rely on them to ensure they get the most out of their Salesforce product. From implementation to support to customizations, they've done it all. If you want to ensure that your Salesforce investment has the impact you expect, and you want your website to provide a great online experience and real results, call AmericanEagle.com, 877-WEB-NOW-1, or visit AmericanEagle.com. They'll help you build your digital mindset. This is no time to be without 1010 Wins. If you're working from home, stream us on your home computer, or just tell your iPhone or home device to play 1010 Wins. And let's stay connected.
The News Watch never stops. This is 1010 Wins. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Good afternoon. It's 55 degrees at 3:20. I'm Larry Cantor, and here's what's happening. New York State now counts more than 37,000 cases of coronavirus. New Jersey has more than 6,800. Council Speaker Corey Johnson says some city parks and playgrounds need to be closed to help with social distancing. An infant from Long Island could be the nation's youngest coronavirus patient. The United States has charged Venezuela's president with drug trafficking. 10 Winds, AccuWeather, some rain and drizzle late tonight into the morning, an overnight low 45.
This is Andrew O'Day of Bloomberg. As the Senate's $2 trillion stimulus bill moves over to the House, Wall Street is taking it to the House. The Dow up 900 points.
Twins News Time, 3:21. On the 1010 Winds Traffic Center, here's Greg Rice.
Now we got some good old-fashioned traffic in Brooklyn. We got a car fire on the eastbound BQE right before the Brooklyn Bridge. You got the fire department on scene. You got all lanes subject to closure. And right now the eastbound BQE starting to bunch up, going all the way on back towards the area of Hamilton Avenue. The other issue we've been monitoring in Brooklyn, well, that's getting better. The Verrazano upper level, Staten Island bound, looks like the construction is gone. Things are starting to get reopened, getting there. So the outbound Gowanus is starting to get better. Here's what you need to know about the rest of the bridges and tunnels. Hudson River options are all in pretty decent shape. The East River crossings, they're all doing well. You'll just start to see the smoke on the Brooklyn-bound Brooklyn Bridge closer you get to downtown Brooklyn. Upper East River bridges, they behave. Alternate sides suspended in the city through at least next Tuesday. Traffic is sponsored by Care One. Care One and the Strauss family would like to thank their dedicated staff, along with all of our public servants who have continued to rise to the occasion during these challenging times. Your tireless efforts have not gone unnoticed and are greatly appreciated today and every day. I'm Greg Rice on 1010 Winds.
A worldwide confirmed virus cases now tops 500,000. 23,000 people have died. The United
We're only getting a little more than $1 billion directly towards the city's budget when we know the hole that has been blown into our budget is a lot bigger than that.
The speaker is urging the federal government to step up coordination and distribution of urgently needed supplies for healthcare workers and hospitals. Julianne Papa, 1010 Wins News.
An infant from Long Island, just 3 weeks old, has been identified as the youngest coronavirus patient in the country. The baby is recovering at home after being treated for several days at NYU Winthrop Hospital in Mineola. Pediatric specialist Dr. Asif Noor tells Fox News if such young patients don't need oxygen, they're sent home to recover under close observation. Healthcare experts say this case is a stark reminder that the very young also are susceptible to coronavirus and may initially display cold and flu-like symptoms. They say if parents have concerns, call their pediatrician right away. Speaker Nancy Pelosi is optimistic about the fate of the House, fate in the House, that is, of the $2 trillion coronavirus relief package.
I feel certain that we will have a strong bipartisan vote. We take some pride in the fact that, as I said earlier, the congressional Democrats in the Senate and in the House were able to flip this over from corporate trickle-down Republican version to bubble up worker first, family first legislation.
The Senate unanimously approved the legislation last night. Skies are partly sunny. It's 55 degrees. We're heading down to 45. Winds new time 326. Now, Bloomberg Money Watch on 1010 Winds. And here's Andrew O'Day.
President Jerome Powell told the Today Show this morning that there are no limits to the amount of money the Fed can use to support the economy amid the COVID-19 pandemic. That's signal on pledge support, along with the passage of the $2 trillion stimulus plan passed in the Senate and now headed to the House.
people who have tested positive. And that's a sharp increase from the day before. And I have no reason to believe that number will not continue to rise. As the numbers rise for all New Yorkers.
And how is this affecting operations? Will you have to change shifts in any way, reschedule the schedule for workers in the FDNY?
Yeah, we've adjusted some schedules. Our staffing is still strong, but it's fragile because people who are infected can't come to work. They'll infect others. So it's certainly a fragile workforce. We're trying not to overwork everyone. We know this is going to be not a sprint, but a marathon, so we intend to be in it for the long haul.
Joining us live, Fire Commissioner Daniel Nigro. Do you see a point where you may actually have to scale back operations because you just don't have the personnel?
Excuse me, I just didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Do you foresee a point where you may be in a position where you have to scale back operations because you have so many members out?
Well, certainly we have long-range plans for scaling back if we had to, or adjusting in many ways. But we really need to be there for those critically ill or seriously injured people in New York, and we intend to be there for them no matter what.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Fire Commissioner Daniel Nigro joining us live now on 1010 Wins and 1010wins.com. Our coverage will continue in just a moment. Wins News Time and for Nature. Changing the world, one life at a time.
I spent years studying how to make this the best. I didn't make this because I wanted to make a company. Other companies are starting to catch on to this, and I buy every single product that comes out so I can look at it and see it and test it. And I fear that people will buy some counterfeit and take it for a couple of months and go, oh, it's a bunch of crap. It doesn't work. Don't be fooled. This is the real stuff. We have absolutely the best process, and I can say that because we purchase every single one and check them out.
Don't wait to see what getting over 10 servings of whole fruits and vegetables every day can do for you. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order of fruits and veggies. Start your journey to better health today by calling 1-800-2468-751 or by going to balanceofnature.com and make sure to receive this special radio offer by using discount code NEWS. 57 degrees now. We are going down to 47 in Midtown tonight. Wins News Time 4:49.
With the radio.com app, you can always listen to this station anytime, anywhere. But there's so much more. Like exclusive music channels to get more of what you're listening for. Like Smokin' Oldies, Flashback Home, Final Tap, Nashville Legends, and Reggae Nation. All streaming 24/7, 365, and all just a click away. Listen to what you want, when you want. Radio.com on your desktop or download the free app now.
When was the last time you read the Constitution? Specifically Article 1, Section 2. The Founding Fathers thought it was critical to count the population every 10 years so that congressional representation would be based on facts. And it also helps inform how billions in funding are spent every year. The census is our opportunity to be heard. And if you think about it, our civic duty.
Shape your future. Start here. Complete the census at 2020census.gov. Paid for by U.S. Census Bureau.
Wins News Time 4:50. At least 13 patients have died from COVID-19 at Elmhurst Hospital in a 24-hour period where a refrigerated truck is being used as a makeshift morgue. Emergency care physician Colleen Smith.
Concern is that all these ventilators that we're told are coming but haven't really started to materialize in large numbers, are they really coming? Will we really get them? And will we get them fast enough? Because we're intubating people at a very high rate.
In a statement, the city's public hospital system says Elmhurst is at the center of the crisis, but the statement also said the number of deaths was consistent with the amount of ICU patients being treated here. Wins News Time 4:51. Time for traffic and transit. Here's Greg Rice.
Well, Lori, it's a tough ride all over the eastbound BQE this this afternoon. Sounds like the old days. Eastbound BQE still slow from Industry City to the Brooklyn Bridge. That is following an earlier car fire. And now the eastbound L line right over the Kosciuszko Bridge. That roadway, the lower roadway of the eastbound L line that takes you off of the BQE. There is a crash leaving only the right lane open on the eastbound L line lower roadway right off of the eastbound BQE. So that is slow right after the Kosciuszko Bridge. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. The Brooklyn-bound Brooklyn Bridge still a bit bunched up because of earlier issues in Brooklyn. Take it over to the Manhattan or the Williamsburg Bridge or even the Brooklyn-bound Battery Tunnel. Hudson River crossings, they're all in pretty decent shape. In New Jersey, northbound turnpike truck lanes north of the Goethals Bridge. Word of an accident. Stay with the northbound car lanes instead. Alternate side suspended in the city through at least next Tuesday. You can just stay inside. You don't have to move the car in the city until April. B, W, and Z subways, those remain parked in the yard. They had hoped without those they'd be able to run normal service elsewhere, but there just aren't enough crews right now to run normal service on the G, J, M, A, C, and L trains. The 6 and 7 express trains don't run. Everything is local. Traffic sponsored by Stu Leonard's. I'm Greg Rice on 1010 Wins.
Hi, I'm Stu, and our family's food and wine stores are open 7 days a week, including our new store in Paramount. Stu Leonard's is getting daily deliveries direct from our farmers. Our shelves are full. We also deliver at shopstews.com.
Now the AccuWeather 4-day forecast. Here is meteorologist Brian Thompson.
Well, Lori, it's been a beautiful day. We've had a good deal of sunshine. Temperatures getting well into the 50s this afternoon. But things are going to start to change tonight. During the evening hours, you'll see clouds start to increase.
Sorry, Brian, we're going to have to interrupt the weather forecast here. We're going to go live to Mayor de Blasio, who is having a briefing right now.
Extraordinary efforts of New Yorkers to address this crisis. There is a lot more to do, and especially in terms of our federal government, a lot more to do. But I can at least say that we see on many, many fronts help coming in. I'll talk about, of course, what happened in Washington yesterday with the stimulus bill. Many forms of help, but also immense challenges that we're facing. There's just nothing we've been through that could possibly compare to what we're experiencing now and where we're going. And it will be a long, tough fight, and I'm going to keep saying that because I know there are a lot of voices out there trying to act like we can turn the page soon, and I just don't believe that's true, and I don't think it's helpful for people to be given false hope. I want to give people real hope. Real hope comes from the extraordinary commitment and hard work of our healthcare workers and our first responders and all the people protecting us right now. Real hope comes from resiliency of New Yorkers. Real hope comes from real support. Every time a ventilator arrives, every time we get more supplies we need, every time the military comes to help us, those are the causes for me for real hope. But it's going to be a long, tough fight, and we're going to be stronger if we understand that than if we try and wish away something that, in fact, we're not able to change entirely right now. Let me talk about the overall situation. And it continues to be numbers I can barely even comprehend. I know a lot of you feel the same, and they all represent real human beings, real families. Total cases as of this morning in New York City, 21,873, a number that would have been unimaginable just a couple of weeks ago. Deaths in New York City, we've now lost 281 of our fellow New Yorkers to this disease. So we got a tough time ahead, and that's obviously particularly true in our healthcare system. I want to take a moment to talk to all those who are doing extraordinarily valiant work right now all over New York City. Doctors, nurses, all healthcare workers, everyone who works in a hospital, whatever your job is, every single one of you are doing something heroic and really difficult and absolutely necessary to save the lives of your fellow New Yorkers. There's a phrase we use. We say people have gone above and beyond the call. Well, all of you are doing that now in a way that we're going to remember. We're not just going to remember next week or next month or next year. We're going to remember for the rest of the history of New York City going forward. It'll be part of a chapter in this city's history that will be unforgettable. That all of you stood up, all of you showed up, all of you gave your all under very, very trying circumstances, because none of us have experienced anything like this, and it came out of nowhere. So I want to say on behalf of all 8.6 million New Yorkers, a thank you
to all our healthcare workers, and not only our gratitude, not only our words, but our deeds. That's what we should show our thanks through. You deserve, and you must have, and you will have the supplies you need. One way or another, we're going to get them to you every day. It will not be easy, and we absolutely must get federal help if we're going to be able to sustain this. But my commitment is, if it is available anywhere in the United States of America and we can get our hands on it, those supplies will get to you immediately to protect you, to allow you to do the life-saving work you're doing. This is going to be a day-to-day, hour-to-hour reality. I keep saying, I know this week that we have the supplies in this city we need. I hope we can get through next week, but that is literally as far over the horizon as I can see right now in any way that I can feel comfortable about, because I need to know we're going to have what we need for our healthcare workers and our people. But any healthcare worker who's out there who feels afraid or worried, we all stand with you. We understand why you might feel that. Anyone who feels resolute about serving their patients but is worried about supplies, I understand that, and I want to make sure you don't have to worry, that you can see the supplies coming and know they'll be there. It's understandable that healthcare institutions, hospitals, clinics are trying to be careful about their use of supply. They're trying to make sure that we'll always have it going forward. But we also have to make really clear to our healthcare workers that any supplies we get from Washington, from Albany, from the private sector, are immediately being turned around to our hospitals and our healthcare facilities. And I want people to see more and more evidence of that. We're going to show it very publicly. And to all of you who are experiencing challenges, we need to hear from you. We need to understand what you need so we can get the job done for you. And thank you for all you are doing. Now, I've said throughout this crisis, there's a lot of challenges that we're facing, but we also have some extraordinary advantages, and one of them is that we have the best public health system in the nation. We have the largest, we have the best by far. Health and Hospitals is an amazing organization that's only gotten stronger in recent years, but now it's under a tremendous amount of stress. And obviously Elmhurst Hospital in Queens is right now the epicenter within the epicenter, dealing with an extraordinary surge of cases. It also happens to be an extraordinary hospital. It's renowned within our public healthcare system as one of the very best hospitals we have, with an incredibly committed staff who have been able to deal with so many challenges before with great skill, great compassion, great ability, and that's what they're doing right now. The folks at Elmhurst Hospital, the folks doing this noble work, need supplies, and I'm committed to getting you supplies. In fact, in the last 10 days, we have 4 times resupplied Elmhurst Hospital with additional ventilators, and we will keep doing that until we're at the point that Elmhurst absolutely always has more than enough ventilators. Today, we sent over 40 additional ventilators that have arrived at Elmhurst. This will be an ongoing commitment to make sure that that hospital and all our public hospitals have whatever they need at any given point in time. If we have it, it will get to you. We also sent today to Elmhurst Hospital 56 additional staff members to deal with the challenges that they're facing. And again, we will keep adding as needed. We have to make sure that the really, really hard-working doctors, nurses, all the healthcare workers who have dealt with the sudden surge, we need to give them a break as quickly as possible. We need to bring...
This is WINS, WINS HD, WNEW HD3, New York.
Give them a chance to catch up, catch their breath, get a little downtime so they'll be able to continue on going forward. So it's crucial that we get more and more support into Elmhurst, and we will do that. So in terms of our entire healthcare system, public and voluntary, nonprofit, the whole picture, look, before the coronavirus came to New York City, we basically had 20,000 hospital beds with everything that was needed, all the staffing, the equipment, everything that you would need to fully attend to a patient in a hospital bed. That number about 20,000. Once upon a time, and once upon a time was only weeks ago, that was a really big number, and that was certainly sufficient to handle demand every day in New York City. In fact, there are people who used to talk about there were too many hospital beds in New York City. Well, that 20,000 number that once seemed so impressive, now it's only a part of what we need to deal with the coronavirus. Our goal is to triple the number of hospital beds in this city by May. Now, that's an extraordinarily difficult goal. I am not going to look you in the eye and tell you I can guarantee you we will get there, because we have so many challenges. The bed, again, is only one part of the challenge. Location is only one part of the challenge. We need the equipment, we need the supplies, and we need the highly trained personnel. All of that we're working on simultaneously. And this is where the federal government, again, could be absolutely crucial. And I've been very clear about what could be done on the federal level that could affect that entire equation in our favor, particularly when it comes to things like personnel. The reality is we have a very, very difficult goal to reach, but it is our goal, and we will every single day work to achieve it. The surge plans that the state put forward, asking every hospital in the city to increase capacity, I think it was a very good strategy. We'll add at least 7,000 beds quickly. And that's a crucial part of what we need to do. We've obviously, in addition to what could be done in hospitals, it is crucial to find new locations, either facilities that are healthcare related where we can put in more beds, or facilities that weren't healthcare at all, but where we can now create crucial new capacity. So those new locations in places like Kohler Hospital, part of Health and Hospital System, Javits Center, obviously a convention center, had nothing to do with healthcare. Now it does. And the federal government, FEMA, state of New York are playing a leading role there to get that up and running. With the surges in the hospital, with the additional beds outside the hospitals, that gets us to almost 34,000 beds compared to the 20,000 we had just weeks ago. That is a very, very important start in addressing this crisis. But as I said, my goal is to get us to not just 34,000, but then to 40,000, to 50,000, ultimately to 60,000 if we can get there. And if this crisis continues to build the way we think it will. I would love nothing more, and I know you would love nothing more, than to find out, in fact, we got some relief from this crisis, and the numbers got better, and the human misery got reduced, and there were fewer and fewer cases. That day comes, maybe we won't need 60,000 hospitals, but I cannot depend on maybe. I have to prepare this city for the toughest scenario, and that's what we're doing right now. On supplies, look, there's nothing more important than ventilators. We've all talked about this. I really didn't know a lot about ventilators a month ago. Now I know something at least. I've realized that a ventilator, it's, you know, we could put one right here on this desk. It goes in a packet that's about the size of a suitcase, but it is a lifesaver. As simple as that. If you have a ventilator, you can save a life. You can keep someone going, get them through this crisis so they can recover. If you don't have a ventilator, people die who didn't need to die. It's as simple as that. This is one of the most important pieces in this whole puzzle, getting enough ventilators, getting them quick. 500 have come in through our efforts working with the White House, working directly with the administration to get immediate, direct supplies to New York City, and that's been very helpful this week. In addition, 2,000 more from FEMA. About half of them are here in New York City now, over 1,000 already here, the remainder coming in the next couple of days. So when you combine all that, 2,500 more ventilators that we'll have. A few days from now, we'll have about 2,500 more ventilators than we had, say, 10 days ago. That's hugely important. That's only about a sixth of what we are going to need to get through this entire crisis. We predict at this moment we need 15,000 ventilators. And we are pushing every possible button. We're looking under every stone. We're calling all over the country to find every ventilator we can get. And soon we'll be talking about the efforts to create them right here in New York City as well. But my deep concern remains that the federal government is not using it to its full disposal of the Defense Production Act. That's the game changer. That's where we could get a lot more ventilators built around this country, manufactured and shipped to New York City in time while this crisis is raging. and every ventilator comes here when we don't need it. Of course, when the crisis is over, we're going to help make sure it gets to other parts of the country that need it. But we've got to get to that number. We've got to get to that number fast. Today, I saw a great example of New Yorkers stepping up to help fellow New Yorkers at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. An amazing example. This is something that just a few days ago not only didn't exist, but the idea didn't even exist. And I want to thank Michael Bednark of Bednark Studios and Michael Dougal of Dougal Greenhouse. They are doing amazing work, working with everyone at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, led by David Ehrenberg. They literally came up with an idea just days ago. They said, we need to help our healthcare workers, our first responders. We're going to create face shields. And they literally decided they would create a factory in a place that wasn't a factory. They would create a factory from scratch to make these face shields. They'd find the equipment, the different elements. They'd find the different supplies. They'd get a plan. They'd bring it to the Department of Health. As recently as Sunday night was when they got this plan approved by the Department of Health to come up with their own version of a face shield to protect all of our crucial leaders and crucial folks in the healthcare field, our first responders, all the people out there at the front line doing such important work. This brand new idea out of nowhere was put in production. These face shields were put into production yesterday. They're at full bore today. They will, on Friday, ship 50,000 face shields to the Department of Health to distribute to hospitals all over New York City and to first responders. By next Tuesday, I'll have 120,000 made. This is just an inspiring, beautiful effort. We're going to make sure New Yorkers see a lot about this and understand how powerful this is and what it means is for the future. So many New Yorkers are just finding many, many ways to help each other. There's going to be more of that coming. You're going to see surgical masks, gloves, surgical gowns, all sorts of things being built right here in New York City, manufactured right here to protect our fellow New Yorkers. None of that takes the federal government off the hook, I want to be clear. We need everything that is being produced here just to keep going day to day. We need the federal government to come in with the really big numbers, the really big supplies, if we're going to get all the way through April into May. But we're going to help ourselves in the meantime every way we can. Finally, a couple updates. There's been a lot of concern about the situation in our jails. Want to give you an update that I'll keep doing every day. I'll give you an updated number. We are looking to release the inmates that we think are appropriate to release, that we think do not pose a threat to the community. And we're also very, very concerned. There are inmates with very serious pre-existing conditions, inmates who are much older. We have an obligation to think about them the same way we think about all New Yorkers who are in those high-risk categories. So we're working that through. I'll give you updates regularly about where we stand. We have to work in many cases with the district attorneys in the states, state government, I should say, to get to specific decisions case by case, but we'll keep updating you. So as of last night, 200 inmates from our jail system had been released from the beginning. 200. That action last night allowed us to hit a major, major milestone. And none of us expected this crisis, but one thing that has come out of it is that our jail population continues to decline. Last night, we went below 5,000 inmates in our jail system. Again, last night we went below 5,000 inmates in our jail system in a city of 8.6 million people. The last time the New York City jail system had fewer than 5,000 inmates was 1949, right after World War II. So this is an important note against the backdrop of this crisis, something happening that has a real value in other ways, even though it's part of addressing this crisis. It should be noted as an important moment. By tonight, by the end of the day, going into tonight, that number of inmates released will go from 200 up to 375. And we will keep giving you updates as we go along. So I wanted you to hear about that, just to officially know that now our jail population as of this morning is 4,906. On supermarkets, there's a lot of concern to make sure we keep our supermarkets clear so people go in there, can shop, observe social distancing, not be crowded, not end up being in a situation that violates the rules we put forward. We need everyone to stick to that idea. So a couple of thoughts. First of all, to, again, the store owners, the store managers, the employees, very, very important to practice social distancing and insist on social distancing. Any line inside or outside the store needs to be distanced, 6 feet between the person before them and after them. Constantly have to make that happen. We have to be conscious about limiting the number of people come into a store if you start to see an overcrowding situation. Again, if that means line outside, keep that line distanced. To any store owner or store manager or employee who says, wait a minute, we need some help to do that, we need some backup, we need some enforcement, just pick up the phone and call 311, and we will get you help quickly. Whether it comes from the NYPD, the fire department, the sheriff's office, the buildings department, whatever it is, members of our city government will come to you and will help you achieve that social distancing. You're not alone in doing this. We want to help you do it. Call 311 and we'll get help to you quickly, but we've got to get this done. Finally, a recommendation for all store owners. This will certainly be true for grocery stores, supermarkets, pharmacies. If you can, and some it'll be easier, some will be harder, but if you can, there have been a lot of requests to institute senior citizen hours early in the day. So the idea would be to set up a time, I'm going to suggest something like 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., where only seniors come in to shop. Look, this is a suggestion, this is a recommendation, it's something that is not typical, but in this crisis people are adapting and getting used to very different realities. I think all New Yorkers want to make sure our seniors are safe and they get what they need. So having those early morning hours available to any pharmacy or grocery store, supermarket, anyone who can do it, whether 6 to 8 or whatever version you choose, letting seniors have that time that's just for them, keeping the crowds low, making it a little easier on them. A lot of them are up early and can get to you. If you can do that, it would really help. If we can stretch things out, it would really, really help to avoid social distancing other times of the day. To ensure social distancing, to avoid crowding, my apology. So everyone, just to finish, and then we'll take questions from the media, and I will be joined by Dr. Auxiris Barbeau remotely, our health commissioner. I talked earlier about our healthcare workers, our doctors, our nurses, every single human being who's working in a hospital right now, whatever your job title, you're a hero, we need you, you're at the front line. I want to also remember at the same time, everyone at EMS, everyone, emergency medical service who is constantly there saving New Yorkers. We depend on them 24/7. You call 911. As New Yorkers, we expect not only an ambulance to arrive quickly, but some of the best professionals anywhere in the world to be there, and they are. And they've been dealing with this crisis. They're dealing with a lot, but they've been there for us every single day. I want to thank everyone at EMS for all you are doing. And I want to thank the folks who get even less attention, I would say. I want to make sure EMS gets their fair share of attention and their praise and their appreciation. But our voluntary ambulance services, community-based, neighborhood-based ambulance services that really play a crucial role as well. A lot of times they get overlooked. I want to thank all of you for all you do for our communities, especially in this time of crisis. And I'll make sure to use Twitter and other forums to thank each of your organizations individually for everything you're doing. We appreciate it, and it makes a big difference. So everyone, I conclude before saying a few words in Spanish by saying it'll be a hell of a challenge these weeks ahead. But there's nowhere on earth where people meet a challenge like New York City. And I want to thank you all. I know it's tough. I know people are really, really changing your lives, but you're also doing it in a way that's inspirational and showing the whole nation what it looks like to deal with a crisis and do it with strength and dignity and resolve. And I want to thank you all for that. A few words in Spanish.
We've been listening to Mayor de Blasio updating us on the city's coronavirus response. The city's case count right now, he says, has reached 21,873. The mayor promising healthcare workers that he will get them the supplies they need one way or another. He says the city is committed to resupplying hard-hit Elmhurst Hospital, which received 40 new ventilators today, according to the mayor. The goal, Mayor de Blasio says, is to triple the number of hospital beds in the city by May. FEMA and other federal agencies taking a leading role in helping that to happen. Jail population, the mayor says, is declining now as inmates are released to avoid coronavirus infection behind bars. Less than 5,000 now incarcerated, the lowest number in decades. Our coronavirus coverage will continue shortly here on 1010 Wins. We will be going back to the mayor momentarily. Just a reminder, we have Dr. Barbeau and Dr. Katz on the phone today.
Good. Dr. Katz has joined us. Okay, I'm glad for the update. Thank you.
With that, I will start with Shant from the Daily News.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to ask for your reaction to today's historic unemployment numbers and if that's changing your response for your plans looking ahead.
Sean, it's staggering. We're only seeing the initial numbers. They will get worse, unfortunately. A lot of people can't even apply for unemployment yet. Have been trying to get through. So right now, our early estimate is, unfortunately, probably at least 500,000 New Yorkers will end up unemployed, are already or will soon be. That's just a staggering number. What it means is, we need everything in that federal stimulus bill, and we need more going forward. And this is not looking a gift horse in the mouth. I really do appreciate what's in that stimulus bill. It is unprecedented. I'm very appreciative to Senator Schumer and Speaker Pelosi in particular for what they achieved. But I don't think there's anyone watching. I've talked to Senator Schumer, I've talked to Speaker Pelosi, I've talked to Senator Gillibrand, I've talked to our whole congressional delegation as a group earlier today. No one thinks it's enough. Everyone agrees there's more that has to be done, and the next act will be a potential additional legislation in the House very soon. So we're going to need a lot more help for working people and a lot more help for our local government to support working people in this city. It's staggering, but look, if the federal government does everything they're capable of, it will help us get through, and we can help everyone to the point that we then actually start the recovery, which I think, is something that's hard to believe before the summer or fall, but we will get to that point. We need that direct support for the city government. We need that direct support for the state government in the next stimulus package, or else we just won't be able to help all these folks who are unemployed and their families to the level they need. But if we can get that help, we'll find a way to do a whole lot for them. Go ahead.
Next, we have Kathleen from Patch.
Hi, can you hear me this time?
Yep. It's good. It's working this time, Kathleen.
I was going to ask for your thoughts about Legal Aid Society hoping to get 22 juvenile detainees released from ACS, and if Dr. Barbeau, you wanted to weigh in, that would also be great. They're saying that these facilities aren't really equipped to protect people, and that, they are prone to some of the health issues that would make them more vulnerable to COVID-19.
You're talking about specifically the ACS facilities for young people under 18.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, this is something we're going to come back with more on shortly. Obviously, the focus has been on addressing the issues around adults in our jail system, particularly those who are older or had pre-existing conditions. That's where our focus has honestly been. We will have more to say on the juveniles soon. The facts keep bearing out that, thank God, that the challenge, the threat to those under 18 is substantially less, but we don't take it lightly. And we will address what we're going to do there, but we just don't have that plan ready to announce yet. Dr. Barbeau, do you want to add?
I think you covered it well.
Okay, but Kathleen, we will have an update on that very shortly.
Next, we have Matthew Chase from AM New York.
Hey, Mr. Mayor. The governor said yesterday that New York State has 11,000 ventilators. Your own health department website breaks down by zip code specifics about the flu. When you've been asked to provide specifics like this, you've explained you can't because the numbers are in flux, it's a fluid situation, etc. Obviously, they're in flux with the flu. Obviously, they're in flux with the state regarding ventilators. Why are you able to provide those zip code specific numbers for the flu? Why is Cuomo able to say how many ventilators the state has, but you won't do the same for that and other things?
Well, it's really as simple as this, Matt. When I feel that we have something that's a non-moving target, as I just told you, the 2,500 ventilators that come in or are about to come in from the federal government, when I got something I think is really solid, I'll tell you, but I think we've got other situations here that are changing constantly. I think there's too much potential for misinformation, misunderstanding. The issue to me is that we owe it to the people to say what the practical impact of all these numbers is, what's really going on, and to update them on what really matters, which is, do we have the supplies? Are we able to take care of people? Are we getting to a point where that's not necessarily the case, and what we're doing about it? That's where I'm focused. I just don't find it productive to put out numbers that I'm not sure at any given point are accurate, because things are changing constantly, and I'm just going to stick with that. If at some point I feel that we've got more stable information, and I feel like it's productive and consistent, because I do not want to give out information, then have you guys legitimately ask questions and it turns out it wasn't accurate or it changed in a way that isn't being reflected. So I'm sticking with where I am. If it gets to a point that we can get that in a form I feel better about, I'll be happy to share it.
We've been listening to Mayor de Blasio updating us on the city's response. Just to recap a few things that he mentioned, the city's case count has reached 21,873. He says the city's jail population is declining now as inmates are released to avoid coronavirus infection behind bars. Less than 5,000 now incarcerated in the city. That's the lowest number in decades. The mayor is promising healthcare workers that he will get them their needed supplies one way or another. That's a quote. The city committed to resupplying hard-hit Elmhurst Hospital, he says, which received 40 new ventilators today, according to the mayor. The mayor is hoping to triple the number of hospital beds in the city. He'd like to do that by May. That's the goal. He says federal agencies like FEMA are taking a leading role in helping that to happen. Our coronavirus coverage will continue shortly here on 1010 Wins. Wins News Time 523.
I was 16, a budding athlete. Father Mike took notice. He said, let's start a youth group, handed me a beer, complimented my physique, and told me I was a leader. But he pretended to be concerned about my health and had to examine me. In 1980, nobody spoke of these situations. Today, that's not the case. I'm attorney Paul Barr. New laws in New York and New Jersey extend the time period survivors of childhood sexual abuse can seek justice, but that window can be short for some. Predators hide behind big religious or educational institutions, and Phillips and Palicelli is ready to hold them accountable. The clergy, school districts, hospitals. Were you abused? Now is the time to file a lawsuit, regardless of the time elapsed. I was a victim. I know what it's like. A lawyer at Phillips and Palicelli will take your call between 8 a.m. and midnight every day. 1-877-8-ABUSED. That's 1-877-8-ABUSED. 1-877-8-ABUSED. It's time for justice.
Children who grow up in poverty are part of a destructive cycle. Childhood poverty creates adult poverty, creates childhood poverty, and on and on. And this is a relentless cycle. Worldwide, millions of children live in extreme poverty. At Child Fund International, we find this unacceptable. So we do all we can. In 25 countries, we are vigorously fighting poverty and improving the lives of over 11 million children and their families. Our programs support early childhood development and children's health and education. And we help strengthen the economic security of families. Childhood poverty creates adult poverty, creates childhood poverty. But at Child Fund International, we are committed to breaking this destructive cycle. Today's childhood poverty must not become tomorrow's. Learn more at childfund.org. It is 58 degrees right now. We have mainly clear skies in New York. Humidity is 42%. Our winds out of the southwest at 9 miles an hour, gusting to 17. Repeating that current temperature, 58, going down to 47 in Midtown. 1010 Winds AccuWeather calling for a low of 47 tonight with increasing clouds, maybe a little rain overnight. Mild Friday, though, tomorrow, high of 63, some sun. after any morning drizzle ends. Winds news time 5:26. Now, Bloomberg Money Watch on 1010 Winds. Here's John Doniger. Animal talk on Wall Street and at lightning speed just a couple of weeks after the S&P 500 a bear market at the fastest rate ever. Now it's seeing its quickest advance, up almost 18% since 1933, chasing a bull market. The Dow has already entered a fresh bull market, up more than 20% from its lows. Today, both averages gained more than 6%, the Nasdaq almost that much. The Dow rose 1,352 points, the Nasdaq 413, the S&P 155. There was more talk about the 1930s, too, and the number of first-time jobless claims filed last week. 3.25 million, that was a record. GM making drastic moves to cut costs. It's asking salaried workers to defer 20% of their pay until the last quarter of this year or the first quarter of next year. It plans to furlough 7,500 salaried workers and cut board members' pay, too, by 20%. Bloomberg Money Watch at 26 and 56 past every hour. I'm Joan Doniger for 1010 Winds. Winds News Time 527.
When was the last time you read the Constitution? Specifically Article 1, Section 2. The Founding Fathers thought it was critical to count the population every 10 years so that congressional representation would be based on facts. And it also helps inform how billions in funding are spent every year. The census is our opportunity to be heard. And if you think about it, our civic duty.
Shape your future. Start here. Complete the census at 2020census.gov. Paid for by U.S. Census Bureau.
And Sharman, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
And we're going to interrupt here on 1010 Winds and go live to Washington, where President Trump is now giving his daily coronavirus briefing.
The leaders gathered virtually around the world to discuss.
You're going to have fun. You know what? I'm not against Arlington, but I hope that's not the choice.
John, I'll call you, okay?
No, you won't. You'll call me from a Jet game crying as well.
Probably right.
Thanks, John.
All right, Jay, talk to you guys.
John Heyman on the baseball. We'll come back. We'll get back to your calls, 877-337-6666. And Rosenberg was doing a great job back there.
Yes, he is.
Found a call we were referring to earlier. I said to John Sterling when he was on that one of his great calls.
Oh, the Rick Camp home run in the 16-13 game on July 4th?
Yes. So we have the call. It's kind of long, but we'll take a listen to that coming up a little bit later on as well.
A couple other things about that game, too, that I'll throw at you when we get to it.
Sure. One of the craziest games in history of baseball.
Never forget it. Never forget it.
Hang on, Robert's here, Anthony.
I'm Michael Wallace in the WCBS newsroom. The number of coronavirus cases in New York State is soared above 37,000. Statewide, there have been 385 deaths. There have been 81 deaths in New Jersey, 21 in Connecticut. Stocks soared today on the Senate's $2 trillion stimulus bill. The Dow gained 20% in the last 3 days, its biggest three-day surge since 1931. The latest on these and other stories, 24/7 on WCBS News Radio 880.
We're Cyan LTL Freight. Our trucks hit the road to haul the goods that keep businesses and communities moving. We're talking millions of shipments over millions of miles. From custom solutions to expedited delivery, when you see Cyan LTL Freight, you'll know we're driving business. For all your shipping needs, get your quote at Cyan.com. That's SAIA.com.
Okay, you know how it feels when you've saved enough for that long-awaited home edition? Now imagine an addition on that addition. That's the feeling with Capital One, where a new savings account earns an interest rate of 5%. Is banking reimagined. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Rate comparison based on FDIC national rate. Capital One NA member FDIC.
In times like these, you need an auto retailer that has your back. That's the new Infinity of Englewood. You need service? Infinity of Englewood comes to you with white glove service. Call them. They'll pick up your car, complete the work, and return it like this.
Overall speeds and the most reliable mobile service coasting at the latest 5 phones. Spectrum.com/mobile for details and to find a store near you.
Spilled your pina colada? Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up spills and messes quicker. And as
to get back to getting caught in the rain. Do you know what brand sells the most work shoes in America? Skechers. Why? Skechers has the best looking safety toe and slip resistant shoes around. They've got superior quality and simply incredible prices. But many people get them just for the style. So you can enjoy tough, steel-toed protection and slip resistant soles anywhere, even if you don't need them for work. Since they're Skechers, you know they're going to be comfortable with Skechers exclusive air-cooled memory foam. Find your new pair of Skechers safety toe and slip resistant work shoes at a Skechers store, at Skechers.com, or wherever work shoes are sold.
From the Containment Traffic Center, I'm Greg Rice with the SupplyHouse.com Fan Highway Patrol. We're going to crash on the east side of town. Traffic sponsored by AAA. Southbound FDR Drive at East 79th Street. Accident knocked out a lane, knocked you back past Gracie Mansion. Outbound Gowanus in Brooklyn. Car broke down near Industry City in 39th Street. Back 6 in the right lane. Inbound George is fine. Lincoln and Holland behaved. The Brooklyn-bound Brooklyn Bridge still a bit bunched up because of earlier issues. Alternate side suspended in the city through at least next Tuesday. BMW and Z subways, they remain parked in the yard. They had hoped to run normal service elsewhere, but there just aren't enough train crews to run normal service on the GJM, AC, and L trains, so fewer trains means a longer wait. You don't want to risk getting stuck on the road. That's why 60 million drivers rely on AAA to keep them on the go in any car they're in 24/7. Join AAA today at AAA.com/join. I'm Greg Rice with the SupplyHouse.com Fan Highway Patrol.
5 Hour Energy is energy on the go. But what if you're not going anywhere for a while? Then 5 Hour Energy is energy for getting stuff done while you're stuck at home. Like doing an honest day's work for your boss. Getting rid of old clothes. My old bell bottoms. Scouring the grout in your shower. Working out on that old stationary bike. And so much more. Go to the store or order online at shop5hourenergy.com. 5 Hour Energy. Energy for hunkering down.
Somewhere out there, there's a man on a park bench eating his 500th PB&J. He has no idea Papa John's has new papadillas that are way better than a boring sandwich. With Papa John's best meats, cheeses, and veggies hand-folded into a crispy flatbread crust. Tell that man. Get a new papadilla in 1 of 4 flavors for just $6. Better ingredients, better pizza, better than a sandwich. Papa John's. Now the discount fees and taxes, extra prices may vary.
To all first responders and essential personnel, WFAN wants you to know how New York feels about you.
Hi, my name is Michael from the West Village. I want to do a shout out to my friend Brenda, who's a delivery nurse at the hospital, and all the other nurses and doctors who are working so tirelessly at this time. And lots of love to you. And thank you for being there.
We'll get through this together. Thank you from Sports Radio 1019 FM and Sports Radio 66, WFAN, and WFAN FM New York, a radio.com sports station.
What I do know, Joe, about that game against the Braves in '85 is that it was one of the craziest regular season games ever. It was the 4th of July.
Yep.
There were rain delays involved, and Rick Camp hit this ridiculous home run because, as John described earlier, John Sterling, Rick Camp was not exactly, Jacob deGrom at the plate.
No. Well, the game, it's interesting because the Doc started this game. And and then they had this big rain delay. And also in this game, Keith Hernandez hit for the cycle in the game. I think he actually went 4 for 10, but he did hit for the cycle in the game.
Yes.
And the other thing I remember, I believe, because I remember, we were down at Jersey Shore at the time. My stepfather had a place down there. We were down in Jersey Shore. I remember watching the game down there, I forget what the Mets were ahead, whatever. I don't think Doc pitched great. I remember he had a rain delay, and I said, okay, we wound up not seeing it. I didn't see it. And I remember waking up the next morning and finding out that they won the game, 16, I think it was 16-13. Right? Was that final score?
16-13, yeah.
16-13. They won the game. The craziness at the end with the Camp home run, and then they actually shot off the fireworks.
Yes.
It was the 4th of July. They shot off the fireworks at like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
it lit.
Yes.
After the game went off. But crazy. And didn't he hit the home run off Tom Gorman?
He hit the home run off Tom Gorman, and then after the Mets took the lead in the top of the 19th inning, the Braves started rallying again. They started scoring runs, and the last batter of the game, with a couple of guys on base, was Rick Camp. So did Ron Darling finish that game? Yes, Ron Darling closed the game out. Ron Darling came out of the bullpen. You're right about Doc. He must have been taking. Took the lead in the top of the ninth.
So we have Sterling's ball on the home run?
Yeah, so it's a couple of minutes long, and it takes you through the at-bat, but put yourselves in the shoes of this game. It's the game's over. You know, the Mets have finally taken the lead. Top of the 18th inning. Bottom of the 18th.
This is a 98-win Met team we're talking about here.
Yes, in the midst of a long winning streak. They were very hot at the time.
Oh, you very.
So it's the bottom of the 18th inning. There's 2 outs and nobody on. And the batter's Rick Camp. I mean, they've got no other choice. You know, so here's this light-hitting pitcher, and he's facing Tom Gorman. And here is the much younger voice of John Sterling taking you through this epic at-bat.
This is why you always save a player. This is absolutely the reason. I thought the Braves did the right thing. They let Runge take a shot at winning it, and he hit the ball well. But now 2 outs and 0 on. The Mets are waving their outfielders in. Met team waving their outfielders in. Here's Rick Camp with a game on the line. 2 outs and no one on base. And at least he took a good cut and fouled it out. Ernie, if he hits a home run to tie this game will be certified as absolutely the nuttiest in the history of baseball. Well, they could go to another pitcher, but in 18 innings, they've used just about everybody. So the only 3 guys left are Bedrosian, Perez, and Zane Smith. There's a strike going too. So they researched that, and they figured that Camp is the best hitter of the 3 left. It'll be an 0-2 pitch.
And he hits it to deep left. He goes back. It is gone. Holy cow. Oh my goodness. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Rick Camp. Rick Camp! I don't believe it! Remember what I just said, if he hits a home run, that certifies this game as the wackiest, wildest, most improbable game in history. On an 0-2 pitch, Rick Camp hit it over the center field wall. I don't believe it. If you only knew on the Braves,
nobody can believe it. Camp makes it 11-11, his first Major League homer. I mean, that is the most improbable act. Let's see it again, Ernie. We gotta look at this another 50 times. That goes heat, it's out of here, and it hit the football bleachers. I mean, if you told me that John Sterling's gonna run for president and win, that wouldn't be any more improbable. I gotta tell you.
Oh, boy.
Pretty good.
That's it. John is nuts. That is a great call.
That's a tremendous call. That wasn't high, far gone.
No.
Could you imagine if you had, like, I wonder what he would have said. What would he say for Camp? Rick does something, right?
I can only imagine. That was the reason that's such a great call. And if you missed it earlier, you could press the rewind button on radio.com, and I'm sure it'll be posted.
That is a tremendous call.
But I brought this up to John and said, this is one of your most underrated calls of all time. And he said, you know, Susan, Joe, and Evan, I really don't like that call. And you just heard it, Joe, the natural shock.
Oh, my God.
The reaction.
No doubt.
That is... Look, he's had some great calls. And he's had a lot of big moments, obviously, with the Yankees over the last bunch of years. But that was a tremendous call. And then just all of the shocking, like, if I would have told you I'm running for...
Right.
And then even the comment ahead of time about if he hits a home run here, this game is certifiable.
Well, that was the best part of it.
Yes.
Yeah, saying that.
And what really adds to the moment, and I think it was kind of cool now that I think about it that we played the whole at-bat, is that he's behind 0-2.
Yeah. Well, Gorman grew up, didn't figure he's not going to hit it, just throws it over the plate, and he crushes it. Yeah, that was a memorable game, man, I'll tell you.
But the good news is, if you're a Met fan, they actually went on and won the game.
They did. A lot of memorable games that year, man. That was
That was a could-have-been year for the Mets, I'll tell you that. That was a could-have-been year.
Well, 84 is when they really broke things. They won 90 games that year.
90 games, yeah, right.
They had the big year in 85, come up just short of the
But remember also, between 84 and 85, they got Gary Carter, which, was, and it actually was announced by Frank Gifford on Monday Night Football. I forget what the game was, Monday Night Football game, and that's where I first found out that the Mets had gotten Gary Carter from the Expos. And to tell you that I was doing a dance would be putting it mildly. I'll say that.
And then, this is not likely, but they get Gary Carter. Opening day, first game as a Met against the Cardinals. It's a game-winning home run in the bottom of the 10th.
And I think he hit the game-winning home run as well off Neil Allen.
Neil Allen, yes.
He did hit it off Neil Allen. And I remember, like I said, I actually had a regular job back in 1985.
Right.
Yeah, I worked in the city. I was in the food business, and I remember driving on the George Washington Bridge when Carter hits this home run, and I'm like, going nuts. Yeah. When it happened. Yeah, that was a good year, man. It ended in the disaster really in St. Louis after they had that huge. They were down 3 games to the Cardinals, and they're going into St. Louis for this final series of the year, a huge series, and they win the first 2 games. Darryl hits the ball up the clock off Ken Daly to win game 1. They win game 2. I believe Doc pitched that game. They win game 2, and then I remember the 3rd game they wound up losing it. They had a potential big inning. I don't remember all the exact details. They had a potential big inning going in the first inning of that 3rd game that they would have tied for the division lead, and they wound up only getting 1 run out of it when they could have got 3 or 4, and the Cardinals went on moments.
It just feels more important because every game's more important. There's only 16 of them. There's 162 of them. So it's more symbolic than anything. But to go out and make a trade for a future Hall of Famer, you described your reaction when you heard about that trade.
Oh, my God.
And for that guy, in his debut at Shea Stadium, to a walk-off home run, I mean, that's pretty cool.
83. It was actually 83 when they got Hernandez, and it was on the then June 15th trade deadline.
Right.
Which it was all the way back then, and I'll never forget that. A good buddy of mine, Larry Lasky. Larry, I don't know if he's still around anymore, Larry, but I haven't talked to him in a long time. Hope all's well with him. He actually called me trade, and he said Neil Allen and Rick Ormsby, and then when I heard it, I couldn't believe it. Yeah. But of course, Whitey Herzog, basically got rid of the cocaine rumors. Sure. That's really why he got rid of Hernandez.
To me and to my generation, if you're a Met fan, there's only one. And it's one trade.
Piazza.
It's Piazza. It's the remember where you were moment from my era. And I know where I was. I played basketball. I was 6 years old. And I heard from Mike and the Mad Dog, because we had a boombox playing, that the Mets traded for Piazza. And I think what makes that so unique is that, to me at least, even though Mike and Chris were talking about it, pressured the Mets to try to get Piazza. That's the real reason why Doubleday kind of forced move on. I don't know the 100% truth, but certainly the perception is that Mike and Chris were talking about it. And this is Mike, and this makes a lot of sense.
They should do it, dog.
The whole thing. Right. But even though they talked about it, it still came out of nowhere. And to me, the reason it came out of nowhere is because I never for a second believed the New York Mets would trade for Mike Piazza.